Video 2 Design. This is the second video in the Pinktooth Try-On series. In the previous video, we looked at how the Lens Studio project was structured and what items it includes. In this video, we will learn about body tracking, body mesh, and external mesh, 3D body tracking, and full body mesh. I will start with the underclothing. I added a full body mesh in the Objects panel. This automatically adds a 3D body tracking asset to the scene. We will use the same body tracker later for more body meshes and other items that we will add to the scene. In this case, we don't need the head or hands, so I will remove them in the Inspector panel. I used Adobe Substance Painter to create the textures for the body material. In Substance Painter, I will need the body mesh and the fabric textures. You can find a lot of free fabric textures online and even some ready-made fabric materials in the asset library. I downloaded the body mesh reference models from the Lens Studio online documentation. You can find the link in the description below. The reference models come in two separate FBX files, one for T-pose and the other for A-pose. In my experience, the A-pose works better for pants because the legs are separated. Also in A-pose, since the arms are lowered, there are less stretching issues in the armpit area. But if you are downloading models, many times they come in T-pose. The reference files also include a 2D map of the body mesh, which we will use later to paint over. In the videos, I'm using the Creator's 3D online viewer to look at different meshes without having to open them in Blender. You can also use this tool to convert files from one 3D format to another. You can find a link to the viewer in the description below. I started a new project in Substance Painter using the Lens Studio template. I imported the body mesh model and I imported the fabric images as textures. I created a fill layer for each one of the two fabric materials. I put each layer in a folder and applied a mask to each one. It is easier to manipulate a layer that is inside of a folder without worrying about changing the mask. I want to show only some parts of the body and hide the rest of it. I turned on the opacity channel. I added another fill layer with only the opacity channel turned on. I am using a black mask to paint which parts should be transparent. When exporting the texture files, I use the Lens Studio template. This template gives me the three texture types that are needed in the PBR material in Lens Studio. First, the base texture map for color and for optional alpha channel. Second, the normal map for surface texture details. And third, the material parameters map, which is unique for Lens Studio, and it determines properties like metalness and roughness. In Lens Studio, I created a new PBR material and assigned it to the body mesh. I imported the three textures that I created and dragged each texture to its slot in the PBR material. I changed the material's blend mode to normal to allow opacity, and it's ready. External mesh, jacket and breeches. This is how I added the jacket and breeches as a single external mesh. At this point, I already imported the garment after preparing it in Marvelous Designer. I will show you how I did that in just a moment, but first let's see how to add an external mesh. In the Objects panel, I duplicated the existing underclothing body mesh. I renamed it to Breeches and Jacket. I created a new PBR material and assigned it to Breeches and Jacket so we can see it fully. I renamed the material to PBR Jacket and Breeches. In the Resources panel, I added a new full body mesh and renamed it to External Mesh Body. With External Mesh Body still selected, I changed the mesh pose to A pose in the inspector panel. And I added the imported garment mesh to the external mesh slot. Back in the Objects panel, I selected breeches and jacket, and in the Inspector panel, I switched the mesh to the External Mesh Body resource. Basically, an external mesh is completely replacing the body mesh that it's being assigned to. And similar to how body mesh works, the external mesh is stretched and morphed to fit the user's body type and pose. For this to work correctly, the external mesh outfit needs to match the body mesh overall shape. And this is how I did it. Originally, I designed the Pink Tooth outfit in Marvelous Designer with one of their built-in avatars. Then, I replaced the Marvelous Designer avatar with a Snap avatar. I modified the garments a little so they fit nicely on the body mesh. The Snap Body Mesh avatar is very low poly, and you can see the polygon corners on the garments, especially with more tight-fit clothing. I can smooth the avatar mesh in Marvelous Designer, which solves the corner issue. But when smoothing the low poly avatar, it becomes more skinny. So when exporting the garments, they may not fit the user's body. They may intersect with other external meshes in the scene. To fix this, in Marvelous Designer, I increased the skin offset from the default value of 3 mm up to 20 mm. You may want to experiment and find the right value for your own clothing. I added a link to the Snap avatars in the description below. You can also find the reference files in the Lens Studio asset library. The latest versions of Marvelous Designer include great improvements to their retopology tools, UV mapping, and the mesh exporting features. This means that you don't need to bring the garments into another 3D tool like Blender, and you can finalize the garments in Marvelous Designer and use that mesh directly in Lens Studio. I use the Marvelous Designer UV editor to manually compact all the clothing pieces into one UV tile. This way, I will create a single material in Substance Painter with a single set of textures. In Substance Painter, I imported the FBX from Marvelous Designer. In the texture set settings, I added an ambient occlusion channel. Then I baked the AO mesh map. This adds some nice shadows. I imported the base color map and a top stitch map that I exported earlier from Marvelous Designer. For the first layer, I added a built-in smart material named Fabric Canvas Creased. I will use the fabric bumps and creases from this material, but not the color. I added a mask to remove it from the areas that will be golden. Next, I added a fill layer with a Marvelous Designer diffuse map as the base color and the AO map for even more shadows. I added another fill layer with the top stitch map as base color and changed the layer's transfer mode to linear dodge to show the stitches with higher intensity. I placed the two layers in a folder and copied the mask from the bottom fabric folder. To make the stitches more pronounced, I added the stitch map to a new layer as a height map, and then added a height to normal filter. Now the stitches will be added to the overall normal map. I added the built-in gold armor material and masked it to show only on the decorative straps. I changed the roughness and metalness for it to feel more like a fabric. For the strap texture, I created a new layer and used the normal map from a weave pattern that I imported into the project. I exported the texture maps with the Lens Studio template. I used size 1024 to keep the visual details, but still have a small file size. Now I have 3 maps for a PBR material: base, normal, and material parameters. In Lens Studio, I imported the 3 maps. I assigned the maps to the PBR jacket and breeches material that I created earlier, and the external mesh is now ready. To learn more about external mesh, I would like to recommend a great deep dive video from Lens Studio Ambassador Persica Picardo. You can find the link in the description below. Body mesh occluder. After adding the jacket, I can't see the person's neck and chin. I used an occluder material to hide this part of the garment. I duplicated the underclothing body mesh that I already have in the scene, and I renamed it to Occluder Body. In the inspector, I removed the body and kept only the head and hands. I added a new occluder material in the resources panel. I assigned this material to the occluder body object. You may need to change the render order for this to work correctly. Lower number in the render order means that the object is displayed before objects with a higher number. Now you can see the neck, and also the hands are visible when the user holds them in front of their body. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next videos in this series.